Hey, welcome back to Metropole Grid. My name is Andre.
And I'm Patrick.
Thanks so much for tuning in. We are at the lower quarterfinals for NANPC Montréal Top Cut. There is only, I shouldn't have done this live. It's like 4 players left?
Yeah, we're going to say there's 4 players left.
No, it is right. It's 4 players
because we're at
left.
the quarterfinals. There must be 4
right.
players. Yeah.
And we have
Latin.
2 great players, both from the same testing team. We're going to get a knockout here. Both players also traveling in from the States.
That's right.
On the left.
On the left, we got Jeff, aka ysengrin SC. You know his voice. You know his YouTube channel. You know that I have sometimes guested on his channel, and he's guested on this one.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Jeff here. He's going for the mulligan, it seems, and he's playing Hoshiko. It's open deck
that's
lists.
right.
This is the sort of Crew Hoshiko that I'm a huge fan of. Amakua, Aquaceres Crew, Devil Charm, Patchwork.
He's going to be
send
trashing
it.
some ice and just sending it.
And on the right, that is Katchen Kysra playing a Near Earth Hub. And this is a Near Earth Hub that we would call bouncy.
Okay.
So it's running agendas that we're actually scoring out. There's a lot of Near Earth Hub decks right now, especially Snare Bear decks are known for it, just like a kill Near Earth Hub with combo kill.
Okay.
This actually wants to put cards on the table and score in remote servers.
Oh, that's
we have
disgusting.
things like Amani Sanai to return cards to hand.
Okay, that's the
self-growth
bouncy thing.
program.
Yeah.
It's hard
Amani
to keep your
Sanai.
cards on
I'm
the
like
table.
Lila for Corpse.
Yes. It's hard to keep sometimes your cards on the table. And this Hoshiko matchup, you have some nice ways to get credits in a kind of, click compressed way. The tag punishment might connect. You have ways to give yourself tags with Aquaceres Crew.
What kind of tag punishment are we looking at? Like
Self-growth program and shipment from the Disappears.
Okay, to drop 4 advancement things on out of nowhere. Yeah, makes sense.
Now, Near Earth Hub 17 Influence is going to draw a card anytime a new server is made. That is not an optional effect.
Yep.
And we're going to be putting things on the table behind some ice. Some of this NBN ice can be a bit tricky to face check into. But you see there after the mulligan, Jeff has at least a Miss Bones, one of the nicest cards to start on the table. Here. And a Patchwork might be a bit expensive if it ever gets returned to hand. But for not only free, but drawing 2 cards, Miss Bones is going to hit the table. That's 12 credits to start touching stuff.
Yep.
Remote server, that's a
love it. Patchwork, might as well just trash it, right?
Warm reception, you're already there, costs you nothing. And now we're going to check the remote server. There's pings and... Oh, there might be some annoying ice in here for sure. I think there might be some F2Ps maybe. It's been a minute since I've seen the list. It looks like we're correcting it. We're not on a face check last click. Running HQ.
And what are we going to see?
Near Earth Hub draws a fair bit more, and there's some of the tag.
Well, now we know it's there. We know it's in hand. That's good.
Looks like just a Rashid on the remote server. Hoshiko getting at the flip. You always want to touch a card, turn 1 as Hoshiko. So Near Earth Hub has to draw cards. And until we see some filtering like a daily business show or federal fundraising, those cards enter HQ. So getting that HQ pressure does make sense.
It's a little bit of a liability until you get the filter.
Yes.
Yeah.
We see a bit of the ice in their hand. We have a Messna Chespo, which is a pretty rough face check.
Yeah, some credit drain.
And now with getting 3 more cards in their hand, they can just start putting things on the table and pushing the game forward. Yeah. Starting there with the ice server, that's probably where you want to score out. Your early agenda is often AR enhanced security. The 3-1 that gives a tag to the runner the first time they trash something. Just icing up everything of value here. Saying, I will NEH next turn. I already have too many cards in hand, potentially.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't need to draw right now.
Yes. And Jeff down to 2 credits after the Hoshiko draw. We see in hand, we have a Labor Rights, I believe maybe a Daily Cast, but also definitely a Sure Gamble.
Yep.
And all of these cards, Patchwork is so good. It just says any card in your hand can be a clickless 2 credits.
And of course, if you have a spare Patchwork, then that's just fodder.
Yes. So Sure Gamble becomes a 6 credit econ card. We're
3
up
to
at
9. Great.
I had to click for a credit here first. So we'll see if we just take a turn off, install Daily Cast. And it's kind of nice if you can afford to do the flip in and out of Hoshiko to make sure you're getting the most from that ability. Yeah. As much as card draw is good.
Yeah, I like the weaving in and out of Hoshiko's flip sides.
Yeah, it feels good. Mind you, if you played back in the day with DreamNet, there wasn't a big reason to weave.
No, you just kind of stay digital all the time. Yeah.
Now it's a bit more nuanced, which is great. Maryland campaign. Mind you, Cat has that iced up, so wanting to get the credits off of that.
Now we're getting that NEH draw.
Sometimes the Maryland campaign will just survive on the table. It has a bit of inherent built-in survivability.
True.
But with Miss Bones, it shouldn't be too hard to challenge it. And 3 cards on the table, that's a good way to tax a Miss Bones.
Yeah,
you have to spend most of your turn touching this. And
it looks like we're going to start.
There's the money.
We need to kill Amani Sanai.
4 trash cost is a lot, and Miss Bones is going to do a lot to help to do that. Wage workers.
We definitely want to kill the wage workers. Yeah, Miss Bones is running out of cash.
We've already got 10 credits of Bones and a Spin Doctor.
And we're going to use the Spin Doctor spawn.
It's one of the Cat Shen altars. I really like this one. I picked this up at Worlds 2022.
Oh, true, yeah.
So shuffling back some cards here. Again, the high trash cost cards are pretty easy to put back into the list. It looks like it's going to be Rashida and a Wage Workers. So 2 must trashes getting back in the deck. Yeah, the cast coming down really cheap. We're going to get that Hoshiko, and both players just working through their decks.
Yep.
We know exactly everything on the table, so you're not too worried.
That is true. We don't know the ice, but we do know...
Yes.
Well, we know everything on the table. There's not a lot left. thankfully. Miss Bones just has 2 credits left. Do you know if Jeff has another Miss Bones? I think he does, right?
The list has 2.
One more Miss Bones, yeah.
And what's really interesting, another bouncy card in this deck is Degree Mill. You have an incentive to actually leave 1 credit on Miss Bone.
Yeah, so you can pull Miss Bones back to hand as a cost. I'm doing air quotes.
I think you shuffle into the deck, actually.
Oh, well, that's fine.
You redraw it.
Yeah,
fine.
okay, you'll draw it again, yeah.
Yeah, but you actually do want cheap installables. So you might see something like
A
that.
daily cast that's gotten down to 2 is like fine.
Yeah, if you can line that up, that's a very good for you in this matchup. I do think we see in Cat's hand, they have that might be a tomorrow's headline on the table.
I saw tomorrow's headline in hand, yeah.
Thinking of Monty after that, and we're just doing an Oppo again.
Might as well do Oppo. He just trashed a bunch of stuff.
I can't believe in context this hasn't come up so far, but this is the built-in defense of trashing stuff.
Yeah.
So much of Jeff's play pattern is going to be around the fact that can we deal with Oppo? On a turn, you don't want to trash one thing, you want to trash multiple things. And luckily, there's an Amani as a start. So if that's on the table, you actually could assume the second card might be an agenda, regardless.
Yeah, the Amani is there to prep.
Yeah, this is a good trade for you. And so we're going to bring that down for the last Miss Bones money. Now we're touching this remote server, and it is tomorrow's headline.
Ooh, okay, so we're up to 3 tags with only 2 clicks left to clear those tags.
And you know there's a self-growth program in hand. Losing your Patrick, not great.
No.
Daily cast with 6 on it, also not great.
No, none of these are great.
But with 2 Amanis out so far, you're doing okay. Just actually clearing the tags down to 1.
Yeah, okay.
Now 2 tags is a really big difference because shipment from Vladisibirsk, because a fast advance card, you need 2 tags for that. Here, the worst case scenario is that Cat does and throw, and this is the bouncy, returns all those cards to hand with self-growth.
Yeah.
And putting Jeff back to basically turn 1, except with the tag.
Except with the tag, yeah.
Spin Doctor as a start.
That's gross.
Near Earth Hub, going to draw 3 cards. Next turn, Cat will probably push in the remote server because that Maryland campaign will finish its work. Wage Worker is really easy in a deck that draws whenever it installs to install 3 cards a turn.
Yeah, there we go. Then we get an extra click, and that click is going to be self-growth to bounce both of these cards back to hand.
And it's 2
Sorry,
to the
Jeff.
grip.
Thanks for playing.
Some of the FFG tag punishment that's still in the format can be kind of rough.
Yeah,
that one is real hard to deal with if you install big things. Like imagine a Lobisoma and Orca from like
it's like an invasive species in the ecosystem of NSG. It's like this is overperforming. This is like outcompeting the native-born tag punishment.
Cohort, so cool in this sort of list. I'm a big fan of this card.
Oh yeah,
when there's too many things for you to deal with. We saw that do really great work in an earlier Swiss round against Diogen that's on this channel. Daily Cat's coming down after clearing the tag, just saying, I need to slow down, I need to stabilize. If you bottom out on your credits, it's really nice. You can force the Hoshiko ability before the Daily Cast, so you actually end up getting more value.
That's true. Yeah, you can be at 0 credits to get the draw and then gain the money.
Yeah. Now, Wage Worker's on the table, not being contested. We haven't seen another Oppa yet, but we haven't trashed in the moment. And that means that in the Ice remote server, Cat has a couple options. You can actually score out never advance 4-2s like crypto crashes.
Okay,
you can actually score out anything that gives a tag punishment and have a click left. Now, I think that might just be the tomorrow's headline, so that's accounted for. But we'll also see what the cohort does. Trash a card to push yourself forward.
Yep. I think it's been mentioned before, but the cohort is, of course, the faces of babies from NSG staff. Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm eating a Trickster Taka.
Get that out of your mouth.
Now we see the cards in hand. Even technically, if Jeff doesn't deal with either the cohort or runs archives, you can never advance a 5-3.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not sure how excited Cat is to score out of 5-3 here. I think you do want to get an AR enhanced security.
Who wouldn't be, though?
It just doesn't do much for the game state. It's a blank 5-3, right? There's a chance you want to keep that if you want to close the game out with a shipment from the Disappears, but Cat should have options here.
You can shut down part of it by running archives, of course, but you want, I think trashing is the better option.
Double ice. We did see a crew get discarded here. Jeff doesn't have a lot of money to be able to trash things, so we're going to do Hosh first, then get the 2 credits. Now, those cards on the table that are not iced up, those are actually just different servers, new servers, uniced.
We're going wide, quote unquote, but like to do that, we have to kind of use the playmat creatively.
Yeah, for a lot of new players, that looks really strange. Those are just other uniced servers. A lot of the assets in this deck will just never be iced up.
Yes. Now, there is one reason to score a 5-3 at this point, actually, because that turns on Oppo's threat text.
That's true.
So that might change the game if it is a 5-3, but not that it's always a great idea.
Now, Jeff on 2 credits, a lot of cards in hand. We saw some of those are kind of clunkers, whether it's labor rights. You can't just play that sometimes and hope you hit a Steel Skin or Strike Fund off the top. But things like Earthrise are a bit expensive, and we know the Patchwork was also returned to sender.
Yeah, I think we know he wants the Patchwork down again because it's a big part of his economy.
I don't know if he can afford to get it back in. Paying 8 credits for 2 Patchwork seems like a lot. We're just clicking for some money, discarding labor rights, Earthrise Hotel.
Okay.
And there's a Patchwork, the second one going. And now we'll see what Cat can do with this table. Uncontested cohort. Wage Workers means you can do a lot of stuff. Flipping up a Degree Mill in Archives.
Revealing a Degree Mill in Archives.
Yes. With a Spin Doctor on the table, that should be entirely safe here.
That's true, yeah.
And that means Cat can score out literally another Degree Mill on the table. It's going to be
It's going to be a 4-2.
Ooh, crypto crash.
Don't give it to Jeff. Come on.
Now, on a turn where Jeff just clicked for credits, that's going to get sapped away immediately. And with wage workers, so Cat has another click to just put something next into the remote server and just chain.
That's right. So of course, it's interesting to note that these players were friends before this match, and we're going to see how that friendship survives afterwards.
Now we see in Jeff's hand, we're going to get that daily cast coming in. Hoshiko's probably going to get flipped this turn, but we have an Amakua, and that might be the one icebreaker, the only icebreaker, it's the only icebreaker in this deck. This is the sort of thing that if you can afford to get down, getting it bounced is pretty rough for you, but that is the way you can deal with ice if you don't get a crew down. We're charging the Spin Doctor as a start. Now that just contests the degree mill.
They're just going to shuffle in the degree mill, and who knows? Now they've got options, I guess.
Interestingly enough, we haven't touched a card yet. And if you want to run archives to steal the degree mill to force that Spin Doctor shuffle, you can, because you just don't have installed cards.
Yep.
This is the damage of the self-growth program, which
self-growth is a defensive countermeasure.
Yes. And there's the Devil Charm coming down. It doesn't look like it's immediately going to do anything unless there's another crew in hand. And there is, and you could guess throwing out a crew, there might be. But that's just a cheap card that Jeff doesn't mind getting on the table. So if he does run Central Servers, he can degree mill and shuffle that back away.
True.
Now, Archives has been flipped up, so Cohort won't give you an advancement, but the card in the remote server very easily can be any 4-2 in the list with wage workers.
Yes. Advance, gain a free click, and then advance once more.
So we'll see here. Again, 2 cards also on the table, not res so far. I think there's a chance that, I do think Cat has 1 copy of B1001, which is a nice secret to send off to a far away remote server.
What a terrible thing for that to exist here, though. I don't think Cat would do it. I think Cat's a nicer person than this.
I really like the B1001.
I know you do.
Cat's thinking here, whether it's a res, Cohort, mind you, they do work in pairs if you have more than one.
Like
so you
Raptors.
can always throw, and it looks like triple advance. That might just be the AR enhanced, and there you go, 1 more point.
That's going to get brutal, and we still have a free click.
Yes.
Thanks to wage workers.
So now trashing things, whether they're installed or not, is going to be a tag. And that also matters on ice destruction.
Yep.
So anything that you trash, if you're doing the Aguaceras crew thing, you'll get a tag. And there's the crew itself showing up and challenging now this remote server. Now you can only get through 1 ice, but Cat actually got pretty low in credits, down to 4 credits.
Maybe they can't res 2 ice.
You're expecting the pings. We saw those in an earlier round.
We know that Mesachevsko, I think we saw.
Yeah, Mesachevsko
that's 5, so
that doesn't expect the res. And I think some of the sentries in the list might be something like F2P, Starlit Night. That stuff can get a bit expensive.
Starlit Night does get pretty obnoxious eventually.
Not sure what's in Cat's ice suite. I don't think this deck has been published quite yet. We're challenging this remote server. Cat needs to think again. Central servers, they have a good idea where all the agendas are. We did see the degree mill get shuffled back into R&D, and I think here at this point, like with 2 credits on a daily cast left over, you wouldn't mind finding that degree mill sooner than later.
Yep, this is a good time to do it.
Cards in remote servers, not touched yet. Cat doing a pretty thorough lay of the land.
Okay, let's check every single card. Let's check archives.
Again, no res. Looks like no res on both. We're touching here. I don't expect it to be an agenda. It's Rashida.
What's Rashida?
Now, if Jeff wants to trash this, not only is it a credit, and I think Jeff here wants 2 credits to be able to thread an Aguaceras crew trashing ice.
Yeah.
But you're also going to end up getting a tag here. So now you're tagged with 2 resources on the table.
Oh, this is gross.
So you need to figure out how to get rid of these. If it's Degree Mill, deciding, I think, whether or not to run R&D.
Being tagged with resources, like, it's not so terrible while Cat only has 4 credits.
Yes.
Like, that is pretty taxing
with Cohort,
for them.
They'll be on 6.
With Cohort,
but you're right.
6. Yeah, you're right.
It's still hard to deal with.
Yep.
You would love to use the wage workers installed to like click to trash a resource.
Oh my god. Trash 3. Oh, whoa.
Super well timed daily cast on 2. Devil Charm, getting the Degree Mill up.
So this gets shuffled back into the deck.
Yes. Jeff is now on game point.
Ooh, okay.
There is crypto crashes in this list.
Yeah, there's 2 pointers.
We're going to fire that Cohort, discard a card, gain 2, and draw up on 6 credits.
Yep.
Now that crew, whether you can afford to trash it on its own, is threatening any ice of 2 or fewer strength. Now that is your pings.
It would also be very funny to send Jeff down to null
board
rig.
State again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cat might be able to do it. Again, we don't know what those cards in the remote server. If they're B1001s, those could have been fired on the R&D run. That clears the tag for Jeff, though, so it does kind of help him as much as it does stop that random access on R&D.
Yep.
But Jeff here getting the Hoshiko flip is also quite important. That would happen on the Rashida regardless. Only 1 tag is not... Like, this is the board state where self-growth doesn't do anything, and if Ladissa Burst gets 1 tag away from being very meaningful.
Can self-growth send just 1 card back?
It says
up
2, but you can... I'm not sure actually how that works.
Okay. Judge.
Yeah. So deciding here after a thorough shuffle, if she go flipped, we're going to
just install and res the Spin Doctor right away.
Very interestingly, that went into the ice server. which kind of suggests that Cat doesn't want to draw a third card, or Cat has something else to put in a remote server. Like sometimes you want to get the information earlier before you commit to that, that extra.
I saw Hollow Man in there.
Yep. That is a great win condition you have to deal with. It's going to force interaction with the AR enhanced security. So we've built another outermost ice server. You do see the Hollow Man. I think you see a Crypto Crash in hand as well. Now, these cards are not being contested. The Cohort and the Wage Workers seem safe. The question is, can Cat just put a 4-2 on the table, and will Jeff check it? Like, sometimes the ice is the server that's obviously going to run.
Right, but you can put out a naked agenda if you want to and just see what happens.
Ooh, install on top of the Spin Doctor has to be a Hollow Man in this list, and last click draw kind of incentivizes you as a corporation to send it HQ here. That Aqua Series Crew survived. If Jeff can just click for a second credit, has 2 credits, can't throw in anything. Federal fundraising. That is the outermost. If you trash that, that's all your money. Or running HQ, just a VSA.
Oh, just a VSA.
Now that gives you tags. No matter what, unless you.
It might be too late. It might be tag me time.
It looks like we're going to take the tag with the Crew just to trash that, burn it down.
Sure.
So you're still going to get a tag anyways.
Which means we don't take more tags. We take a tag from Crew instead of the
and the AR.
Oh, we take from both. Oh, and the AR. Yeah, you're right. And there's the game.
It's in hand.
That's the game.
Well
good
played.
Game, players. Yeah, that was great.
Things ending with 0 board state is exactly what can happen. They're seeing the hand as 2 Crypto Crash and the shipment from the Disappears that Jeff was like dodging around.
Credit perfect and board perfect.
Yes, board perfect.
He is none rig with left credits.
Well played to both players. This means Jeff will continue on to lower finals, but unfortunately, Cat, they've found their second loss. They had a fantastic weekend.
Yeah, for sure. This was fun to watch. I despise this deck. I don't want to play against it, but like it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, this is kind of like, I think Cat's own brew. Like I haven't seen a lot of people play exactly this, and it did fantastic. So
I mean, it's just putting all the punishment in there that I really hate to see. But like like we were saying, some of it bounces things back for the runner's benefit.
Yep.
So a clever runner can really maybe take advantage.
And with that, we'll be back. We only have a couple games left here. It should be up to 3 games left at most, but we're down to only 3 players left. Lower finals, we'll be back in just a bit. Again, thanks so much for watching.
Bye, everybody.
See you in a bit. So it turns out across the NANPC Montréal weekend, it's actually the 3rd time that exact matchup between these 2 players has occurred. Round 1, day 1 of Swiss, the random draw puts ysengrin versus Kysra. Again, 2 American players crossing the border trying to get this Canadian title, let alone, of course, 2 teammates from the same testing group. That's not how you want to start your tournament, and Kysra gets the win. It's not until day 2, both players making the top cut, Kysra on the higher seed, they get to pick the matchup. And understanding they've done this once already, why can't I bring the NEH into the Hoshiko? And it's a very fascinating game. It took place off camera. I watched a fair bit of it as a judge, and I think it gets to the end game, and Kysra, they're over installing the Maryland campaigns just to get more cards back into the dwindling R&D. And then I think on the last crucial turn, Jeff doesn't notice, forgets to check the remote server that Cat just installed something on the last turn, and that is the final 2 points. That's 2 times in a row. Kysra takes it, throwing Jeff down to the lower brackets. Now, of course, 3rd time turns out to be the charm, but being in that seat, understanding twice before that matchup has slipped away, Jeff finally takes it, putting himself to the lower finals. Really well played and a great narrative between these 2 players. Some of my favorite players. Obviously, it's a bummer when 2 teammates have to knock one another out of the top bracket, but that's how it goes in these tournaments, of course. I want to give a huge thank you, of course, to all these names here and more. The Métropole Grid, we are supported on Patreon, and all these names and all the Daily Cast patrons as well help support me so I can put the time and the money into making this sort of video, the live stream, the motion graphics, all these sorts of things. It's incredibly appreciated. If you want to support Netrunner content like this, you can find a link in the description below. If you want to just take a second to like the video on YouTube, all this sort of stuff really helps a lot. With that, we'll be back just on Monday. We're down to the finals, the lower finals specifically. And while Worlds is just next weekend, we might actually speed it up and get the finals up on, I think, Wednesday, just so we're not overlapping with Worlds. But more NANPC Montréal footage to come very quite soon. Thanks so much for watching. Ciao.